So the first thing I'm doing here is painting my pumpkins. I got these pumpkins at my local craft store, Hobby Lobby, Michael's Craft Store, Joann's. They all sell them this time of year. You can also get some on Amazon. I am just using a Crayon brand flat chalky spray paint here. So this is like, they have satin and then they have like shine and then a chalky. This one actually is a chalky, so it's gonna kind of look like a flat color and it's not gonna have a lot of shine to it. I'm taping off the top of my pumpkin stem here because I want to add glitter to those. With these particular pumpkins, this one here that I'm doing, it is easier to just tape than cut the stem away or pull it up. With one of the ones I'm doing later in the video, you'll see me just pop the stem off. So you can do either or depending on how your pumpkin stem is attached to the pumpkin itself. Sometimes using painter's tape is easier, sometimes just wiggling the stem out and then covering it that way and then gluing it back on can be easier as well. I'm spraying my pumpkins now with that chalky crayon spray paint. I got this in sort of like a deep purple. I would suggest, any color you want, but traditional colors this year would be like, purples and blacks and whites are what I'm using for good contrast with the decals I'll be putting on. You want to just spray at about a 10 to 12 inch distance away from your pumpkin. Make sure you're in a well ventilated area and just do short little sprays back and forth all over the pumpkin until it is evenly covered. You probably want to spray the top of your pumpkin first, and then once that is initially dry, you can flip it over and do the bottom a little bit more as well. Usually one coat is just fine, but if you need to go back and do another coat, then just let it dry for about 20 minutes before you do a second coat. While my pumpkins are drying, I am getting my files set up here in Cricut Design Space. You can get these files on members.abbikirstencollections.com. I'm going to link them for you below. Make sure you're keeping these scaled very small, like 1.5 inches max, because you want smaller designs will go onto pumpkins and curve surface much easier than larger designs. So make sure you're working with small designs here, keep them small, and then cut as many as you need to cover your size pumpkin. That's going to vary depending on the size of the pumpkin you choose to do this with. I am using my Maker 3 here with some smart vinyl. You can also use regular vinyl on a mat. Any Cricut machine will work for this project since we are just using a permanent vinyl for this. This is one of the vinyls I used. It was sort of a metallic black, which I thought was really cool looking, and I did it for my black cat crossing design. And I'm just weeding it here with my weeding tool. Go nice and slow with these designs, just like with anything else. If anything's not staying down that should stay down, then just make sure you're careful to push it back down before you remove the excess vinyl so that your designs stay intact as they should. I'm just weeding out the little kitty's ears and eyes and all of the words here. I have the ghosts, the kitties, and the witch hats and brooms. So you can find those files below with a link to my members.abbikirstencollections.com, and you can download them there. I've cut off some transfer tape here, and I'm just pushing that down in small sections and using my Cricut scraper here to go back and forth and to scrape the front as well as burnish the back. And when I'm ready to transfer it, I'm going to lift the liner away from the transfer tape and then push and roll with my finger anytime that something's not sticking to that tape. You want to give it a crease and roll it back, and then that way it'll come right off onto that transfer tape. So this one's ready to be added to our pumpkin here. So I'm just going to pick a spot, any spot on my pumpkin, and I'm kind of randomizing where I'm placing these. So I'm just going to pick a spot and I'm going to place it down. And then you just want to take your finger and you want to roll it over the design and really push those letters into the pumpkin. If something wrinkles on you, don't worry. You can easily take your weeding tool and just gently lift it up, and I'll show you that here in a minute. It happened to one of my kitty cats, and I'll show you how I sort of just worked out that wrinkle so that it looked nice and neat when finished. So I'm going to continue adding these randomly here. Adding my kitty cats and the phrases. There's some little sparkles as well. So here's where I'm placing one of the kitty cats on here, and I'm just going slow, pushing the design to the contours of the pumpkin. And as I lift this off here, you can see there's a wrinkle right on the kitty's front paw right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my weeding tool, or you can just use your fingernail. Sometimes your fingernail works just fine, but a weeding tool can also work. And just gently lift that part and then work it to the contours of that pumpkin to smooth it out. And there we go. That's all fixed now, so there's not an ugly wrinkle there anymore. And now I'm going to continue this process with all of my pumpkins, and you can just watch as I do this here. And I'm basically following the same process. Again, push into the contours of those pumpkins. If something wrinkles, then don't hesitate to use your fingers or your weeding tool to just gently lift up where that wrinkle is and smooth it out to the contours of the pumpkin. If you guys have any questions about this process, then feel free to ask them below in the comments. I'll be happy to help you. When you're shopping for your pumpkins, I would just encourage you to look for things with your pumpkins that are slightly smoother rather than really excessively curvy on the curves and the contours of your pumpkins. As you can see mine here, they're very subtle. The curves of my pumpkins are very subtle, and that makes the process a lot easier. And then, like I said earlier, also making sure you're keeping these decals cut rather small. You don't want to make large decals, because if you make really large ones, then you're going to run into the problem of a lot more wrinkles. But keeping them under 2 inches, I'd say about 1.5 inches at the height or the width, is a good place to aim. And that can vary a little bit depending on the size of your pumpkin. Of course, if you're doing a much larger pumpkin, then your decals could be a little bit larger, especially if your pumpkin contours are not too deep and not too curvy. Then that can work. But I still recommend going on the smaller side. It will definitely eliminate excessive wrinkling, and it'll make the process a lot smoother. The Boo one here is actually probably my favorite. I really don't know why it's my favorite, because I don't really like black very much. I'm much more of a colorful person, but something about the black and white contrast and how that turned out, I really liked it. And I used a chalky black paint for this one. I used the chalky for all of them, but it looks particularly well in the black color here with the little white ghosts and the Boo and all of that on there. The amount you're going to cut for these decals, it's going to completely vary on what size of pumpkin you have chosen. As you can see here, this is a rather small pumpkin. It's only about 6 or 7 inches high. It's not very big. But for this pumpkin here, I still ended up cutting out about 20 to 25 pieces to cover it of various like ghosts and the little swirls and the word Boo. So the larger your pumpkin, the more you're going to cut. Like I said, just don't enlarge the decals too much. You want to randomize them, and you want to keep them on the smaller side so that it goes on to the pumpkin surface without a lot of effort and without wrinkles. Make sure you download the kitty cat ghost and the witch's hat and broom designs below. They are linked below for you. I created these designs for my community, so I hope you will enjoy them, and I would love to see how your pumpkins turned out. Even if you did a different decal, I'd still love to see. Make sure you join our Facebook group, which is also linked below. So as far as the stem goes, I'm using Mod Podge, and I'm using a foam brush and some gold glitter. Now for this particular one here, I was able to get the stem to come off, and then I was able to paint the Mod Podge on and dust it with the glitter and let it dry, and then glue the stem back onto the top. At the start of the video, you also saw me taping off the stem. That is a second method. If your pumpkin stem doesn't really have a clean breaking point where you could wiggle the stem off and it's more kind of welded into the pumpkin itself, then you might want to just tape it off like I did at the start of this video, where you spray paint with the stem taped off, and then you would follow the same process here as adding Mod Podge just to the top of that pumpkin stem, and then covering it in glitter, and then once dried you could brush off the excess glitter, and it will only stick to where you've placed the Mod Podge. So if you end up having pumpkins where you can't really remove the stem, then you'll just want to go that route. But either way, it's the same process of using the Mod Podge and then sprinkling with the glitter. Once dry, we're just going to glue it right back on to the top, and we'll have a really pretty glittered stem for all of our pumpkins that have been dressed up in chalky spray paint and in adorable Halloween decals. I hope you guys loved this tutorial. If you have questions or any other comments, I would love to know below, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Make sure you download these templates below this video. See you next time.